Hi everyone, it's Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. And today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you how to line up some of the images in the new Petals and Wings stamp set by Gina K Designs and ThermoWeb. These stamps are very easy to line up, but I've had a few questions about how to line up these roses, so I want to show you that today. So you can see I have various dies. I have the Petals and Wings stamp set and the stencil here, and I'm going to start by just stamping one of the simple images. And this one is very easy to line up and is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to show you anyway. So I'm stamping this with a little bit of fresh asparagus ink, and then I'm going to lay the die right on top, and you can see how easy it is to figure out how to lay the die on there, and then you can cut that out. Now, lining up the stencil is just as easy. You lay the stencil and turn it until all those little branch edges come through, and then you can stencil the berries on top. Now for the stamps, you just line up the clear stamps, and here I'm using my Misty. I'm going to pick up those stamps, and then I'm going to ink that up with a little bit of red velvet ink, and I'm going to stamp it. And it's very simple to line these up and do two-step stamping with these images. And you can see how pretty this looks. The two images that seem to get a little tricky are these two images right here. So these two images, when you put them together, they make a very modern style rose, and you can see what this looks like. So parts of it there are done with glitz and parts are done with ink. Now the way I do that is I use a Sharpie. So the images on the stamp sheet are both in the right orientation to layer together. So what you want to do is you want to take that image and put a little dot at the top of the image that will be the top center of the image. Now on this one, I'm putting two dots. I'm going to put one in the center, and then I'm going to put one on that petal that is sticking way out there. And I'm doing that mostly for die alignment because it's going to be easy for me to see where that goes on the die. Now that I have the two dots on here, you can see if I line the dots up so that they're in line with each other, that's the way the stamp is going to stamp together, as long as those dots are lined up. So I'm going to start with this image, and I'm going to stamp this image using some Dusty Rose ink. And I'm stamping Dusty Rose onto bubblegum pink cardstock. So I'm going to stamp that in a couple of different spots on this cardstock because I want to cut them all out. So I'll stamp 4 of them. And you can see the Dusty Rose and the bubblegum pink really coordinate nicely together. It's a nice soft pink against that bright pastel. And I'm going to do one more up here. So now that I have those stamped, now I want to show you the die cutting process, because I like to do the die cutting process prior to stamping the second image. So I've taken this die and I've matched up that die to the right spot, and then I put a black dot on the die so I know that that is the top of the die, and anytime I stamp these flowers I can just line up these Sharpie dots and it's going to be very easy for me. So now I'm going to take that dot and put it upright and just kind of jiggle it around a little bit until those petals fall into the right place. And I'm going to cut that out using my Spellbinders machine. Now you can see here that it's a perfect cut, but there's some petals still missing. So now I'm going to put that negative piece into my Misty, and I'm going to slip one of the flowers into that bottom flower spot that's empty, put it back in there, and then I'm going to lay my stamp on top. And once again, I'm using that dot to be right at the top of that flower, and it fits perfectly in there. So now I can pick that up using the door of the Misty, and I'm going to stamp this And you can see what this looks like once it's stamped. So now that's what the rose looks like when it's two-step stamped. Now for the stencil, to find the right spot, I just lay that and match up the lines. And if they match up, then the dot for the stencil is supposed to go right over the dot for the stamp. And this way, once again, I have marked the top of that flower by putting that black Sharpie dot on the stencil. So now I'm going to take a little bit of adhesive and just press that down onto my mat. And now I can line the stencil up. And you can see I just need to find the top flower, the top petal, and line that up. And everything falls into place. Now I'm going to tape that down with a little bit of purple tape just to make sure my stencil stays put. And I'm going to use some of the Glitz Glitter Gel. And I'm going to smear that all over the surface of that flower. And then using my palette knife, scoop away the excess. Now once I've got all of that excess off of there, I'm going to take the purple tape off. And when I take the purple tape off, I want to make sure that I hold the stencil down so nothing shifts. So I'm going to use my fingers to hold the stencil down. And I'm going to gently take that purple tape off and then lift the stencil straight up off of the flower. And you can see now the second part of that two-step flower is glitzed. Look at all that sparkle and shine. Now I'm going to finish up this card for you. I'm going to use the Crazy Daisy stencil for the background here. And you can flip the stencil and have it go in either direction. So I'm going to use this direction. I'm going to add some purple tape onto the back here to keep it secure and in place so it doesn't shift around when I'm using my ink and my brush. And I'm going to take some fresh asparagus ink and one of the life-changing brushes, and I'm going to add a little bit of ink to this stencil. I'm going to go heavy around the perimeter of the stencil so that those parts are darker, and then I'm going to work my way toward the center, and I'm going to decrease the pressure of the brush so I get a very, very light fade, almost faded out into nothing. So it's dark on the edges, but very soft on the inside. Now I'm going to tape these components together, these panels, and this one goes on the black panel, and then the black panel is going to go onto the bubblegum pink card base. And now I'm going to pop that whole thing into my MISTI so I can add my greeting. So now I'm going to use one of the greetings from the Petals and Wings stamp set, and I love to mix the stencils and the stamps from the two different collections. They work great together. And then I'm going to ink that up with some black onyx ink and stamp the greeting. Now once the greeting is stamped, I can lay out my bouquet. So I have all of the flowers and leaves that I stamped and cut and glitzed, and I'm going to use some foam squares to pop up those roses. So one foam square is going to be plenty for the back of each rose, and it's going to allow me to have a little space underneath those roses to slip the leaves under once I get the roses placed where I want them. And I like to turn the roses in different directions because it kind of makes them look like each one is a unique flower if they're not all facing the same way. And then once I get the roses in place, I can start adding the greenery. I really like doing this type of layout where the roses are the focal image and then all of the greenery is coming out from behind them. And that soft stenciled design looks like it's just part of the bouquet. Using a Sharpie marker to create registration dots on your 2- and 3-step stamps, your dies, and even your stencils will help you stamp accurately and be able to cut with ease. I hope you've enjoyed this project today, and I hope you'll give some of these techniques a try. The Glitz Glitter Gel and the new Stamp-n-Stencil system are available at Gina K Designs, thermoweb.com, and fine retailers near you. Here are a couple other videos I hope you'll enjoy, and please hit that subscribe button for more. Thanks for watching and have a great day.